The wind didn't just howl that night, it hunted. It dragged its fingers across the flat Kansas fields, bending the wheat until it whispered secrets to the dirt. The storm rolled in like it had a purpose, not just passing through, but searching for something. Or someone. I was sitting by the window when it began. The house had been too quiet for too long. Ever since Daniel passed, silence wasn't just the absence of sound, it was something heavier. Something that settled into the walls, into the floorboards, into my bones. You don't notice how loud love is, until it's gone. It had been 11 months. 11 months of drinking coffee alone at the same table. 11 months of setting down 2 plates out of habit, then quietly putting one back. 11 months of pretending that the creak in the hallway wasn't him. That night, I couldn't sleep. The storm saw to that. Lightning cracked open the sky like a fracture, spilling white light across the empty fields. For a split second, everything looked frozen, like a photograph of a world that had stopped breathing. That's when I saw it. A shape. Moving. At first, I thought it was just the wind pushing something loose, a tarp, maybe. But then it moved again. Slower this time. Heavier. Deliberate. I leaned closer to the glass, my breath fogging the window. There were 2 of them. One tall. One small. Coming up the dirt road like they didn't have anywhere else to go. And maybe they didn't. Every instinct told me to stay where I was. A woman alone in the middle of nowhere learns quickly that not every knock is meant to be answered. But something about the way they moved, it wasn't threatening. It was desperate. The smaller figure stumbled, nearly falling, and the taller one caught them, steady, protective, but barely holding it together. That was enough. Before I could talk myself out of it, I grabbed my coat and stepped outside. The rain hit like needles. Cold. Sharp. Immediate. Hey! I called out over the wind. You need help? The man froze. For a moment, we just stared at each other through the storm. I could barely see his face, but I could feel it, the hesitation. The calculation. The fear. Then the lightning struck again. And I saw the child. A little boy, maybe 6 or 7, clinging to his side like the world behind them was worse than the storm in front of them. That's when the man made his decision. They came forward. Slowly. Cautiously. Like stepping into a trap they hoped wasn't there. Inside, the house felt different. Warmer, somehow. Alive again. I handed them towels, set water to boil, found old clothes that hadn't been worn in years. The boy didn't say much, just watched everything with wide, careful eyes. The man did most of the talking. Or at least, he tried to. Just for the night, he said. We'll be gone by morning. I nodded. But I knew that wasn't true. People who arrive like that, in storms like that, they're not just passing through. They're running. His name was Aaron. The boy was Caleb. And whatever they were escaping, it had teeth. You could see it in the way Aaron never sat fully down. In the way he kept glancing at the windows. In the way his hand never strayed far from the boy's shoulder. Fear like that doesn't come from imagination. It comes from experience. Warning didn't bring peace. It brought questions. The storm had passed, but something else lingered in its wake, a tension in the air, like the world hadn't finished speaking yet. Aaron offered to work. Fix things. Chop wood. Earn their stay. I let him. Not because I needed the help, but because he needed the purpose. And Caleb? He stayed close. Always close. Like distance itself wasn't safe. By the 3rd day, the town had noticed. It always does. Small places don't keep secrets, they circulate them. I got questions. Casual at first. Then not so casual. Who are they? Where'd they come from? You sure you know what you're doing? I gave answers. Half answers. Enough to quiet curiosity, but not enough to satisfy it. Because the truth was, I didn't know what I was doing. I just knew I couldn't send them away. The truth came out that night. Not all at once. Not clean. But in fragments. Aaron had seen something. Something he wasn't supposed to. The kind of thing powerful people bury. And when you see something like that, you don't just walk away. You disappear. Or they make you. They'd been running for months. Different towns. Different roads. Different names. Never staying long enough to be found. Until now. Until my door. I should have been afraid. Maybe I was. But not of them. I was afraid of what would happen if I turned them away. Because sometimes, doing nothing is the worst choice you can make. The truck came a week later. Black. Slow. Watching. It didn't stop. Not that time. But it didn't need to. Its message was clear. We found you. That's when everything changed. Running wasn't an option anymore. Not for them. Not for me. Because once something like that enters your life, it doesn't leave quietly. We made a choice. A dangerous one. To stop running. To stand still. To fight back. Not with weapons. But with truth. With evidence. With people who still believed that right mattered more than power. The days that followed were the longest of my life. Waiting. Watching. Listening. Every sound mattered. Every shadow meant something. Until finally. It ended. Not with a bang. But with a knock. Officials. Agents. People who had been looking for the same truth Aaron carried. And this time, they weren't too late. They took them away. Somewhere safe. Somewhere new. Somewhere the past couldn't follow. At least, that's what they said. The house went quiet again after that. But it wasn't the same silence. It didn't feel empty anymore. It felt earned. Like something had passed through and left a mark. A reminder. That even in the darkest storms, light finds a way in. It's been 9 years now. I still sit by that window when it rains. Still watch the road. Not out of fear. But out of hope. Because sometimes, the most important moments in your life don't arrive with warning. They arrive soaked in rain. Knocking at your door. Asking you to decide who you really are. If this story stayed with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with someone who believes in the power of kindness. Because sometimes, one open door can change everything.